Welcome back. It's September, so of course it's time for the Humble Choice September 2023 review. Like always, I played all of these titles on a Twitch stream for an hour apiece. That account name is actually kinglink_reviews if you want to see the raw footage or just want to join my stream next month. Someone said they had trouble finding it, so here's the information. Now, I am ready to tell you what each game was like, how they play, and of course, who's going to enjoy them. So with 8 titles, there's a lot to get through, so let's just get started with what's already on the screen.
An extra powerful skeleton arises!
Tiny Tina's Wonderland. More Borderlands with a different name. If you're a fan of the style of humor that Borderlands has, the good news is that there's a D&D style game with all those same types of jokes, gunplay, and combat. Tiny Tina is running a new campaign similar to Assault on Dragon Keep, and with 2 new characters to the franchise played by Andy Samberg and Wanda Sykes, this is a new adventure to keep you occupied for many hours. On the other hand, if you didn't like the humor in the pre-sequel or Borderlands 3, this is that same humor, and it's a bit grating this time. I'll avoid the diatribe on how to set up a joke or a parody to really be funny. In addition though, the game is set up to be more like an RPG with random encounters and an overworld map. I don't think it really works with the Borderlands style of combat though, and it breaks what was one of the strongest things about the previous title, which is the world or the maps inside it. Also, the fact that you're just using guns instead of trying to do something new or unique with the combat is a bit disappointed for a full-size game. Yes, the grenades are spells, but in general they're just still using guns. Pick this up if you love Borderlands 3 but want more D&D jokes, but the rapid-fire style of joke writing really gets old fast, and I found it more tiresome than entertaining. Also, constantly bringing up reference like Butt Stallion has gotten old previously, and now it's just stale. Also, this version does come with all the DLC, including the Season Pass, but that Season Pass has earned a bit of a negative reputation on Steam. Deceive Inc, a multiplayer spy game. Deceive Inc's idea is that multiple groups of spies are trying to access a secret vault. Players will go undercover to search for intel, hack systems, and find the vault. It's a bit of a deduction game where you have to try to figure out who's a real person, as well as a combat game once you've identified a real enemy. The NPCs act believably though. I've actually even seen them running out of nowhere, so it's possible to mistake them for real players. The player base appears to be steady at about 300 active players at any time on Steam charts. However, at the end of the day, the game itself does kind of feel limited. It's just going around and hacking multiple locations, and hacking is really just holding X. There are gadgets and some good ideas, but overall there's very little spying or deception, and with everyone working towards that same goal, it's a lot like a battle royale with only one team or person winning, but with a smaller lobby. Of course, there are also season passes and microtransactions, and the prices there are a bit out of whack. $10 for a premium-only legendary skin or a battle pass. Like, really think about that one. It's a skin for a character that no one's going to see 99% of the time while you're undercover. I also saw a few full black outfits on different players, which probably has a competitive advantage as well. Pick this up if you want to play a multiplayer spy game, but really there's no deception here. I'd go play Town of Salem or Throne of Lies if that's what you want. The art style is okay, but the gameplay just really never got me that excited, though I was glad to win a gun battle. Overall though, this left me feeling like it was lacking something.
And as soon as you have a name, come back and tell me immediately. Oh, and one last thing. If I were you,
The Forgotten City, an amazing time loop narrative. A great narrative is what I look for in a video game, and the idea of time loops if done well is always interesting. The Forgotten City does both of those things extremely well. The characters are interesting, the premise is unique, and the world is memorable and has a ton to explore. Even playing this a second time now, I remember why I was so enamored with this title, even if I forget some of the smaller pieces. On the other hand, The Forgotten City is a narrative game that revolves around learning about the world and the people. While there is the ability to get a bow or start with a gun in the game, there's not a lot of combat in the game. This is more about solving puzzles than anything. The writing is really well done, but it's more focused on the people and how each character relates to others in the world. Pick this up if you like a strong narrative or if the idea of time loops in a game interests you. This is different from Outer Wilds, but it's also in that same vein, and I enjoyed both titles for a similar reason. What's truly interesting here is this was made by 3 developers working on a Skyrim mod, and they have delivered a unique experience that I think full teams still struggle with.
Take the most direct path up the mountain. You come upon a camp of lively forms.
Aces and Adventures, a narrative poker card game. Aces and Adventures starts with the player exploring a strange land. The game is broken up into multiple adventures, each taking less than half an hour to play through and appear to have an interconnected story. There are 5 playable characters, several unlockables, and decks of about 30 ability cards to take into each adventure. The sound design, though, really deserves a special mention. The narration is extremely solid, but there are great little touches that really pulled me into the story. The gameplay, though, is very similar to poker. You create hands in poker like 2 of a kind or full house with normal decks of cards and use that for your attacks or defense. With this game being all fantasy based, it's odd to connect this with a typical card game, but honestly, after an hour this really started to work and there are a lot of clever abilities designed around the idea. Still, it is a narrative poker game. That's a strange pairing that really might put people off. Also, card games can have some serious difficulty spikes throughout them, so maybe I haven't seen that yet, though I am seeing the second character and she feels so overpowered, which usually means I'm wrong and she's the weakest. Pick this up though if you enjoy card games. The narrative is set with minor choices throughout the game, but the leveling means your deck of abilities will grow. It's a strange idea, but I'm going to be mentioning the audio again because honestly, that really made a great job of making the entire game come together, and it kept me engaged long enough for me to see some of that unique depth of the poker style combat. I'll probably return to this weekend. Hatch Quest, a roguelite focused on capturing monsters. Hatch Quest has players exploring a large branching map which has elements of Metroidvanias, bullet hell shooters, and roguelites. However, the map layout doesn't appear to change. Players can lasso and capture enemies to use their ability as they explore the world. This is supposed to be a decently difficult game focused on exploration. However, in my first hour here, I really didn't find anything that hard. I died only twice, both times due to my own mistake. I think that likely won't happen again. The player is decently powerful, and while there's a lot to collect and the art is good, the gameplay is just easy enough so far that I found myself, a little bored rather than engaged by the game. A lot of reviews do talk about the difficulty, and maybe I just need to play further to see that. Pick this up if you like bullet hell games. Now, there are some interesting ideas with collectibles and maybe some base building, but like I said, I didn't see too much of that as I was able to get decently far in my playthroughs. The concept of capturing monsters to ride them and use their powers, though, was interesting. Foretales, a narrative card game based on exploration and abilities. Foretales is a different type of card game. This is a combination of resource management and discovery or exploration games. Players have to navigate through a sea of cards. Each mission has a specific story associated with it, usually with a couple ways to achieve that task. Players will use character abilities as well as the items that they find to achieve various goals, such as freeing their friend from a jail cell or trading for a necklace. There's also a combat system where players can negotiate around enemy encounters rather than being forced to directly fight their way through the enemies every time. Foretales is a hard game to explain, but for the right people, this is going to be great. But at its heart, it really is a card game. Also, the first 2 missions were well designed, but the 3rd mission I reached had a bit of a where do I go type of vibe to it. I'm sure certain cards had to be combined to get the right location, but it wasn't clear how to, and I kind of struggled a bit. There is a hint system, but it was vague enough that I could imagine this game may be a bit frustrating at times. Pick this up if you like Hand of Fate. Now this is trying to be in that same vein, but truthfully it lacks a little bit of that polish, but with the combat system being purely card based, this may win over some people who didn't enjoy Hand of Fate's battles. The narrative design here is solid, and the entire game is an overarching story with what feels like a few decisions based on time management as well, but also allows players to fail without a time penalty.
You play the whole thing in teams?
Sort of. We pick a new team each round.
Well, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I can't remember how it
Who
started.
pressed mute on Uncle Marcus? A family quiz night involving attempted murder. Who Pressed Mute on Uncle Marcus is about a woman whose Uncle Marcus has been poisoned, and she has to try to figure out who poisoned him in the family. But she needs to figure it out based on learning about what happened in a recent family gathering. This is all acted out over what appears to be Zoom calls with an array of colorful characters and a dysfunctional family that constantly seems to be fighting in a silly but enjoyable way. It's a lot like trashy soap operas or teen dramas, but I like trashy soap operas and teen dramas. With that being said, there is limited gameplay, mostly choosing between 2 or 3 options at a time, and it appears the story needs to be played multiple times to learn about all the evidence and figure out who committed the crime. It is well acted, but it's a bit limited in what it can do with everything focused on single-person Zoom calls, likely because it was filmed during the pandemic. While the concept is good, this will only take players a few hours to see everything. However, I will say that the game does allow players to skip scenes, which is very much appreciated when you have to rewatch the game a few times. Pick this up if you enjoyed 5 Dates, or at least saw promise in that title. This is a better game, and with the story and concept it's a bit more interesting, but it's also by the same company. However, the production values here are a bit higher, and the story has me more entertained. Also, there are a few recognizable actors here. Yes, that guy is from The Office. This is also a bit like Late Shift, or most of the FMV games that Wales Interactive puts out. I did finish one playthrough, but I need a couple more to uncover that truth, like I said. Also, just a heads up, there is a decent amount of swearing in this game and bad behavior. It is a mature soap opera after all, so this is definitely more for mature audiences. Autonauts vs. Piratebots, an Autonauts sequel now with combat. Autonauts was a game where you program robots with simple scratch-based AI to do simple tasks and automate your base. Autonauts vs. Piratebots appears to be the sequel to that, now with combat and enemies. Truthfully, just like the first game, I really haven't gone through the entire tutorial yet, but so far it feels like the same experience. And I'm sure that this will add combat eventually, but it takes a while to get that initial base built and start seeing the differences between these two games. I'm a huge fan of Zachtronics games, as I probably have said entirely too many times, and I love programming, so Autonauts should really be up my alley. But there's something about how the programming is done in a monkey see, monkey do pattern that feels like it takes far longer than I want. I probably could type in instructions far quicker than showing them on the screen, but that's not allowed. In addition, this is a sequel that's built on the original, and with that game so automation focused, it's going to appeal more towards a programming mindset instead of a survival mindset. Pick this up if you like the first game but wanted combat added in. At least that's what I'm assuming is the difference here. So far this feels like a better version of the original, but that was also in humble choice, so if you have that one, check that one out first and then consider this one based on your opinion on that title. And that's the 8 games this month. Now, before we get into my opinions, let's take a quick peek at is there any deal, and the answer is yeah, there is a deal. Tiny Tina's price on that list is a little bit deceptive because that's the complete package, but even the base game has never been below $16, so that is a pretty solid price. Aces and Adventures, Foretales, and Deceive Inc. hover around the $12 mark, so that's not a bad choice if those are the games you want. Autonauts vs. Piratebots and Patch Quest has been bundled before on Fanatical, but only in those like buy 3 game type deals I believe, which are bundles but kind of different than what people usually buy. Though Patch Quest was available last month in their Platinum Collection for August, which is kind of a little close. As for the bundle, I'm mixed on this one. Tiny Tina is a big game, but I don't see myself returning to it, at least not until I play through Borderlands 3, and even then I'd probably only do it with friends who were really passionate about it. Deceive Inc. isn't dead for a multiplayer game, but I'm struggling to get any real excitement out of it, and the microtransactions. I just hate that's where the industry is. Still, there are a few good narrative games. Forgotten City is great. I may have already mentioned it, but I played the entire game on Game Pass. I'm even considering a second playthrough because I really want those small pieces back in my mind. Aces and Adventures has impressed me so far, and they actually have recently released 2 challenge updates in the last 3 months, including what they call a Slay the Spire inspired mode. Man, that's a mouthful. Which looks pretty interesting for fans, and who knows what the future's going to bring for them. Also, Foretales has an interesting design, and if there's any real issue with that title, it's that it's in a month with another narrative-based card game, which for people who like that type of game, isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think it just got a little overshadowed. Who Pressed Mute on Uncle Marcus, though, is also coming out at the same time. Wales Interactive has a bundle called The Tales from Wales Interactive. You know, clever name there. And for $10 you get 6 games in that same style. Again, not a huge negative, but if you're specifically looking for that genre, that's probably a better deal for you. That ends in a couple weeks, though. With that all said, let's take a look at the full tier list and this month. As always, we separate the games worth the full bundle price, strong contenders, average titles, and misses. And I'm torn on a lot of games this month, but I don't think I can honestly say anything deserved a miss, so we're just gonna skip that tier. Starting at the bottom of the average tier, Deceive Inc. I'm sure some people are going to enjoy this title, I just don't know if I really know why. It has all the issues a Battle Royale has without the massive number of players. It also really lacks an idea about deception other than moving around like an NPC. Someone explain it to me and others in the comments, please. I'm sure this has fans, I just really don't get this one. Next up is Autonauts vs Piratebots. I'm surprised at this being so low due to it being an automation game, but I really don't feel the pull towards it, and what I find strange is this is the type of genre that I expect to go crazy for. Maybe it's a programming game not for programmers, but again, check the original game out, and if you like that, this is definitely going to be up your alley. Then we have Patch Quest, another title that I fear that I might need a few hours to get decently difficult, or that I'm missing something, but also, game only takes about 6 hours for the main story, so I'm not sure. The art is really good, I just don't really feel a desire to collect a bunch of plants or monsters here. There are harder difficulties, but I don't think my main issue is the challenge, more just not getting hooked into the game design. Though I will say that I'm probably missing something on this one. My tier list, my ranking though, and there is a co-op mode for couch co-op, so maybe it's that. Finally, for the average tier, Foretales. This is teetering on the border of being a strong contender, but that last mission where I was struggling to figure out how to advance the story, even with the hint system, really gave me a lot of flashbacks to bad game and card design. Still, if you're thinking about this title and Aces and Adventures combined, that would push both games up to being worth the full bundle price easily. And this is what we look like after half the games. Like I said, this is my tier list, my opinions, but also none of these games are terrible either, so just not amazing. With that said, let's look at the strong contenders. We'll start with the bottom of the list. Who pressed mute on Uncle Marcus? Now this is a guilty pleasure. It's that bitchy, throw your drink in someone's face and make a scene type of writing that I eat up all the time. As long as you don't call it reality TV. And even then sometimes. It's a good concept and I'll be returning to see more just to see all the pieces of the story and the way the game delivers it. Middle of the strong contenders is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. If you like this type of game, it's worth the full bundle, but man, I really didn't enjoy this title. And maybe I'm just not in the best mood, but the jokes are just painful. After so many Borderlands games telling this same type of joke, maybe it's just gotten to be too much, or maybe the writing has actually changed. Still, with friends, this might get a decent bump. And the top of the strong contenders list, Aces and Adventures. This is a strong title. Now, I enjoyed the narrative elements to tell the story, and the card battles clicked for me after about 30 minutes in. Where this belongs is going to be very dependent on how the rest of the game is, but after unlocking the second character, she feels very powerful, so I'm itching to get back to this one and see even more. And this is what we have after those 3 tiers. One title left. So I guess there's no surprise left, so we'll just finish it off and find out why. The Forgotten City is the game of the month. I highly recommend this one. It's an impressive title, and like I said, I'm probably going to be replaying it just for the story. There's something special about the writing. The story is an interesting one, and there's a lot to discover throughout the experience. It's not the longest title, but it's one that I enjoyed a lot and was happy to finally get a copy of it on Steam this month. And that's what I have. Now, I did mention earlier, but I want to call it out, the Tales from Wales Interactive is currently on Humble, so if you want FMV games, that's a decent deal at $10, but it is a very specialized genre. With that said, we come to the end of this video, my friends. I could lie and tell you I have a video out very soon, but I'll be honest, I'm probably taking a step back outside of the Humble Choice videos, at least for a short while. I enjoy playing games for myself. Lost Judgment has been really good, and I just finished that. I do have an idea for a video, but I have some other pursuits I might be trying to tackle this month of a retro variety. However, if you enjoyed this video and want to see what I think about next month, consider subscribing. Ring that bell if you want to be the first one to see my video next time. Liking, commenting, and sharing the video always helps. And don't worry, this isn't the end of the channel. I still have that sick enjoyment of the hell week of putting out a Humble Choice video, so I'll be back in about 28 days. See you next time.